Last time we discussed laundry, we did a deeper dive. Now we're going to try to discuss Chalah, the time that we have remaining. And we started going through a few sources over here about the Chalah. We're going to go from beginning to end about this to remind ourselves exactly where we're holding. The custom is brought down to make Chalah. Okay? We're going to work the whole way through everything that you need to know about Chalah on Erev Shabbos, or pretty much a lot. It's going to be discussed right now. So the Shulchan Aruch, we'll start with that. Shulchan Aruch mentioned the custom of making Chalah. Really, over here at the end of the simon over here, really it's the Rama. The Rama says that the custom is Noihagun Lalush. The custom is to make Chalah, the amount of Chalah in your house. On Shabbos and Yuntif, it's around 5 pounds. It's in honor of Shabbos and Yuntif, and you shouldn't change the custom. That's what the Rama over here says. Have time. Says Chalah. He says, meaning, besides for the actual kneading and the baking of the dough, which is an order of Shabbos, there's another reason to make Chalah. Chava caused Adom hareshon to sin. Adom was like the Chalah of the world. Hashem needed Adom hareshon, so to say, from the dirt and water. Chava caused, aka a woman, the destruction of the first Chalah of the world. Therefore, she has to fix that by making Chalah. It's all part of the process. And then we enjoy it also, the physical enjoyment on Shabbos. Those are 3 reasons and aspects, elements, as to why there's a custom to make Chalah and why it's quoted in the first simon over here in Ovach Shabbos by the Rama. The Mishna Berura then proceeds to relate, look at the Achronim, even those who have the custom to eat pas palter, which means bread that is made in a bakery from people who aren't Jewish, which is thoroughly discussed in your Deyasim in Kuf Yud Beis, based on sugyas in the Gemara from Machatzes Hashekel. Nevertheless, on Shabbos and Yuntif, it is correct that one should be careful to only eat bread made by a Jew. Why? Because of the honor of Shabbos and Yuntif. As a side point, it seems like the halachas of Aseres Yemei Tshuva, 10 days of repentance between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, are actually more stringent than the Chalah. That's more Me'ikar Hadin. Question is why is that more stringent than Shabbos? Something to think about. Correct. Only eating the bread made by Jews. Correct. This is a whole discussion in and of itself about as to why it's okay to have bread made by non-Jews and whether these halachas apply nowadays. That is beyond the scope of the Chalah that we're dealing with now, but we can maybe come back to it in the next section. And it's obvious, as the Mishna Berura, if a person had extenuating circumstances and is unable to get bread made by a Jew, he could eat the bread made by someone who isn't Jewish. We have Chalah because it's similar to the dew. Oh no, that's the next point over here. That's already something else. Yeah, that's something else. The Be'er Halacha, which we saw last time, 2 times ago rather. The Be'er Halacha focuses on this Chalah business, and he says something very interesting over here. The Be'er Halacha. He talks about how it's like the man, you have it. Already in time of the Gemara, you had this custom. Magen Avram talks about Sifkat and Dalit. Then the Be'er Halacha says, nowadays, due to our great sins and iniquities, some women, they started going against this custom and they started taking from the bakery. Started getting and purchasing their challah from the bakery. It's not good. They are diminishing from the honor of Shabbos. Obvious question is, what exactly is the Be'er Halacha over here talking about? Does this apply nowadays? And what exactly is so bad about buying challah from the bakery? Start with the mother of all leniencies. It's none other than the Shilos Veteshuvos Or Letzeon. Excuse me, that's the Chelkas Yaakov. Or Letzeon writes, Perik Mem Zayin, Chelik Beis. Bismanenu, nowadays, that we buy the challah from the bakery, and it's special challah that is catered and is made in the special shape of challah in the way that we like it. Not like regular bread. You don't need to be stringent, he says, to make challah in your house. He says down over here when he's explaining, the bear halacha that we just saw. No. That's only in their day and age when they were buying from the bakery regular bread that wasn't shaped like challah. However, nowadays that we have challah that is shaped and made specifically in honor of Shabbos, and it tastes better, that's already in honor of Shabbos. You don't need to now bake challah in your house for that.
We're going to get to why the challah is braided, like why it does look different.
Not today, but maybe. As we continue.
Yeah,
but over here, he's saying it's made different. It's the idea of making it different.
But let's say you like a sourdough bread, like that just looks that it's like not necessarily everyday bread, but
I have them in the
solid.
bakeries. I just went to bingo last night at 10 after all my chavrusas. They had sourdoughs.
So I guess the point is that it's baked better, so that's why it's okay.
That's right.
It may not look like it's for Shabbos Dafka.
It does look like it's for Shabbos. That's precisely his point. It looks like challah.
The sourdough bread?
Oh, the sourdough bread. Yeah, they make it in the challah. Okay, fine. It's the honor Shabbos. The idea is you want to eat something that you enjoy. The sourdough, from what I'm told, it's getting very popular in all circles, not just the Jewish world. The sour bread dough thing. So look, you make the cheshbon. The idea is that you don't want it looking like regular weekday bread. This is the mother of all leniencies, completely not arguing on the bear halacha, we could say, but perhaps defining the bear halacha. Does everyone agree to this understanding of the bear halacha? Comes along the Shilos Veteshuvos Mishna Yosef. Yet again, another tshuva that we're zeicher to learn from him. This is in Chelek Hey. This is in Siman. Siman is this? Samach Gimel. And this is going to be Os Gimel. The Gemara in Baba Kama Pei Beis says that Ezra HaSofer enacted, the person who built the second base, that a woman should get up early and bake so that the bread will be ready for poor people. Rashi, as well as the Rosh, come along and explain the Meiri. They all explain that she would get up early to bake because on the day that she would bake in the morning. Rabbeinu Yohina's son is quoted in the Shita Mikubes as well as the Darchei Moshe or Chaim Siman Tofrei Gimel. They have the text that she would get up early and bake eriv Shabbos on the eve of Shabbos, aka Friday morning. That's also, it seems like the text in the Yerushalmi Machatzes Megillah Perek Dalet, that it was an enactment of Ezra that she should bake Chalah on the eve of Shabbos, so that there would be a prusa mitzuya la'ani, so that now the poor people would have bread as well and have something to eat. Remember, bread is a staple item which nourishes a person. So we see from this Darchei Moshe that this is in honor of Shabbos. Also, the Rama seems to say this in Siman and Reish Man Beis as well. The Rama that we just saw a few minutes ago. So he says like this. Wait a second. We know that we have a Gemara in Kedusha that we learned about tremendously and in depth in the past on Mem Aleph mitzvah by Yosef Lieberman. It's better to perform a mitzvah yourself rather than have someone else perform the mitzvah on your behalf, even though the mitzvah could be performed by someone else on your behalf. Like we see that from the rabbis in the in the Gemara, like we learned in Siman Reish Nun in depth about. So too, when it comes to making challah, what would be the difference? Like the Mishna Berura himself says, and the Be'er Halacha, he wants you to make it himself. Rashi and the Rosh. They talk about over there. They're coming to say that this was an enactment of Ezra, but it's obvious. Pasha B'Yisrael, just like Ezra didn't enact that you should make meat and fish for Shabbos, so too, you didn't enact that you have to bake it. The enactment is that it should be early in the morning every single day in order that there would be readily available for poor people. But they would certainly agree that you could do it in honor of Shabbos. Idea is you do it for yourself. You want the bread to be around in the morning. He goes into it. Really, it could be that Ezra enacted every single day, but it certainly does apply on Erev Shabbos. We discuss over here. And then at the end, he says, to conclude from everything that we just said, there's a custom in Israel to knead and bake the challah on the eve of Shabbos to use for Shabbos and Yuntif. Right? Now, if someone has a cook in their house, a chef, or cleaning help, someone who could help with the cooking, so then great. Yad poyel ki yad balabais. It could be that your worker is considered as if you did. It's like the hand of the worker is like the hand of the employer. Right? That the balabais is able to make the bracha when the worker is doing the mitzvah of putting up the fence. You can make the bracha on putting up the fence. So buying the chalos in the store, even though they're kosher, and the poor person is going to be able to eat from it, like we just learned before, it's about the poor people also, and it tastes better in flavor, and you burden yourself to purchase it, and you paid more money for it than had you had just bought the ingredients and made it in your house. But what are you lacking? You're lacking the burden of preparing in honor of Shabbos. You're lacking, and it's better to perform the mitzvah yourself rather than have a messenger perform it on your behalf. No one argues on the halacha that you should bake it in your house. And then he says, especially nowadays, it used to be. Everyone didn't have their own oven. It's a luxury having your own oven. Especially nowadays, we all have our own ovens. It's fitting not to be lenient with this. Return to the crown, to where the crown belongs. Bake the chalos in the house. Unless he says you have a woman who's already older, or post-partum, pregnant. It's difficult for her. She's weak. Big family. It's tiring to make the challah. It takes time. You can't force your spouse to do that then. You can't force your wife to do that. Shalom bayis. The main thing is Shalom bayis. Don't go home and say, oh, I learned you're supposed to make the challah. No, it's on someone else's cheshbon. Main thing is Shalom bayis. Peace, tranquility in the house. Don't ask your wife to do something that's difficult for her to do. And if she's going to be tired from all of the work that goes into Shabbos and the baking of the Chalah, and she's not going to be able to now be at the Shabbos meal properly and focus on it with the Zmiros, with the Torah, etc. The wise person, his eyes are in his head, and he has to foresee, maybe it's better that my wife doesn't make the Chalah. So we clearly see that he wants you to make the challah over here. Comes along the Shilos Veteshuvos Mishna Halachos. Rabbi Menashe Klein, this is in Chelek Tes Vav, Siman Sadihei. He says like this: even though you have a baker over here, lo batla takana, there's still an enactment to make the challah. The enactment of Ezra, just like other enactments, do not become null and void. Because we hold Takanas Bezdin in Bezdin Shalachor of Yochel Vatalim King Adlim B'Chacham Minyan. If you have a Bezdin around, the next Bezdin, Jewish court, cannot nullify what the first Jewish court said from an earlier time unless they're greater in wisdom and number. So the enactment still stands. Further on in this tshuva, he actually quotes right over here at the next point of this tshuva. Quotes all the Mishna Beruras and everything. Quotes what we learned about. The Rama. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Then he quotes the Halacha that we saw. And he quotes this Or Letzeon that we just saw in the Shilos Veteshuvos, who is lenient nowadays that in the bakery they have challah that looks like challah. The bread that they make doesn't look like weekday bread. It looks like challah. Comes Rabbi Menashe Klein. I apologize, Or Letzeon, but you're wrong. You made a mistake. The ein hatam shel kibud Shabbos. That's not the reason of honoring Shabbos. She'im hachalos mu'alos b'taimim o pigumos b'taimim. It's nothing to do with does the challah taste good or not.
Wow.
We don't just care about the gashmius of Shabbos, the physical enjoyment. Elakibut Shabbos hu mashal oifim b'bayis. Honoring Shabbos is you're involved with the kneading, with the baking of the chalos in your house. Umekavdin es Shabbos. That's an honor to Shabbos. You're doing it yourself. It seems like the way that I'm understanding, digesting, deciphering this information is that there could be a machlokes. There's an argument in the mitzvahs. What's the actuality? What is the essence of honoring Shabbos? Is it about having tasty food, or is it about you yourself are involved with the preparations, and that's even more important with tasty food? I don't know. I hear the tasty food idea. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm biased too. I think that
Yeah, I like a good challah. I don't know.
the product has to supersede the
Exactly. But look, I'm not gonna
uh,
read this and then just keep it in the folder and not present the information and share it. I'm sharing everything. This is just the opinion that I kind of formulated. I'm going more Sephardi on this one. I like the Or Letzeon more. See one more tshuva and then we'll see if we missed anything. The Shabbos and Veteshuvos Chelkas Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov Breish. He pipes in as well. This is in the Shalos Veteshuvos Chelkas Yaakov. It depends which version you have. There are new reprintings. And Simon Nuntes, post bayis, saying reprintings because I've looked for certain tubes. I couldn't find them. Then I realized different printings and everything, and I wasted some time fishing for stuff.
wow.
Yep. I mean, I'm assuming that no one's really going to be looking anything up, anyways. But just in case, I mean, anyways, it's on the screen. So what do you got to look it up? It's already here. You could just, but he says you're baking challah in your house, but it's difficult to bake such a large quantity. So you bought some of the challah from the bakery. That's definitely fine.
Yeah, we said that.
Yeah, okay. It's just a source. This is the source of where it comes in. He says that's definitely fine. In Kolzeniel Finisaiti Pshita, the Chalah Shlo Hinafis Ba'atzim L'Kovot Shabbos, Yisham Din Kedima. Given to Huma'atzim when it's Kaim Kol Time in the Rama. However, the chalos that you make, that you should make Hamotzion. That comes first. Because if you have all the reasons that are getting fulfilled over there. This is the idea when it comes to Chalah. And we see the importance of it. Let's make sure that we didn't leave out anything over here. This is the idea over here. Different reasons go into it. These are the Pesach Tshuva quotes. Nowadays, to buy fresh challah from the bakery, especially if there's a lot going on in the house, especially if the winter's short. Short Shabbos, it starts early, 4:30 in the winter. Women who are weak, pregnant, post-partum, Shalom bayis is better. You don't make the challah. This is what we quote. Or Letzeon, Mishna Yosef. But without these reasons, you should make the challah. Especially nowadays, we all have our own oven. That's what we saw.
That was
That was the Mishna Yosef.
line.
That was the Mishna Yosef. Rabbi Yosef Lieberman. It's similar. Mishna Yosef and Shalos was Mishna Halachos. That's what he quotes next. Or Letzeon, he argues on it. You see what he says? He's against the Or Letzeon, who is lenient with the situation over here. See?
Yeah.
He's lenient. He doesn't go into the details why with the bakery thing that we saw. Or Letzeon said that now that they make the chalos in the bakery that look good, so then it's fine and they taste better. But he argues on that. He says it's not about the taste.
Right,
It's about doing it yourself. That's what he means on that one line. Shilos Veteshuvos Chelkas Yaakov. If you're gonna make chalos in the house, but the quantity won't be enough, so you're also buying some, that's fine. A woman who has the custom to always make challah, but because of an extenuating circumstances, because she was weak, now she can't bake the challah. She doesn't need to do hatar sindarim. You would think that maybe she needs to annul her vow that she made essentially to make challah, since she has an intention in her mind to return to continue making chalos after she recovers.
Okay.
So it's brought in the Dagam Ravava, Rabbi Cheskel Landau, so author of the Nod of Yehud and the Slach. In your day, it's Siman Reish Daled. If I'm not mistaken, that's a Siman of Hilchos Nadar. What are you trying to say?
No, that was a totally different concept. That was.
And then we also learned about a woman who she doesn't have a lot of people in her house. Newly married couple, they only have a kid or two. How are you going to make 5 pounds worth of challah and to get a bracha every single week. It's an incredible amount of challah. It's a very large quantity of challah. The answer is you freeze them. Now, a person might be smart. They say, what do you mean? I will say a bracha. I'll separate the dough, and then I'll freeze the dough, and then I can make it fresh. Now let's say a bracha if you do that. You can only say a bracha if you bake all the chalos in there and freeze them. So this also gets tricky because they don't taste as good. As opposed to if they're fresh, if they're mamish made Thursday night, Erev Shabbos, as opposed to if they're frozen, it's probably not going to be as good. They're pretty good, but not necessarily as good.
She doesn't make a bracha if she freezes the
That's
dough.
right, no bracha. I mentioned to my wife yesterday, I saw the last 3 days in a row, the 2 o'clock mincha over here, Rabbi Kaladetsky. It's part of the Kanievsky. His wife, I think, is a Kanievsky.
Right, so he's
Kanievsky. He's here probably trying to collect or something. I don't know. So my wife told me that when she was in Eretz Yisrael, it's a big thing for the women. Either I think it was Thursday or maybe Erev Shabbos to go to Rebbetzin Kaladetsky, Chalah to get brachas, make Chalah, do certain things. The whole thing, mitzvah Chalah. I have to point out over here that we say in Bama Madlikin, end of the second parak, which we customarily say on Leil Shabbos for Nosach Ashkenaz, that Noshem Mesis B'Shash Lidasan Al-Shein is a Yidus B'Shlosh, right? That a woman dies during childbirth, Chas v'Shalom, because she's not careful with 3 things: Nida, Chalah, and Habakas Haner. So you see, this is one of them, Chalah. Women have to be careful with Chalah to separate the Chalah if they are making it. This is the women's mitzvah. I remember around 4 years ago when we learned in the kollel in the afternoon, we learned Hilchos Chalah, and everyone was so excited. Oh, it's going to be so easy, girly halachas, women halachas, the woman's mitzvah. Everyone got hit with the tsunami. You try to learn Hilchos Chalah in your Adeya, you will have I'm telling you, it's so easy to get lost. They're complicated halachas. Don't try to simplify it. They are difficult halachas to learn properly. If you're going through the tours and the Shulchan Aruchs, the Beis Yosefs, the Bachs, the Nosiki, they're tough halachas.
Wow.
You have a Masechta in Shas, Maseches Chalah. There's no Bavli on it. It's in Seder Zerayim. You know, that's what it is.
Wait, how can you have an issue when you you're mafresh the challah, you're mafresh challah, and you put it in your oven? You said you could trafe up the oven. What do we just say that or no?
Yeah, you could. That was 2 days ago, because the challah that you separate is no longer kosher. So
yeah,
when you put it in the oven, so now you're gonna have issues over here.
So the dough itself is because
it's not kosher. Just like if you would take something that wasn't kosher and put it in your oven, you put a little bit of pig in your oven. So now you got issues, right? So too the challah. So you have custom. Why is the whole discussion? Yeah.
Why is the dough itself not kosher? Why is it? I mean, it's not. But it's not. It's not treif though. It's not.
It's not kosher, and therefore it could render the entire thing problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does the Rav do it?
I wonder. Look at this. You see in this? Foil? Yeah, you see this? I have a section in Halacha, Kolel. I should have unleashed this earlier. I just thought of it on the spot. This is a shir that I gave in the Kolel, which was never recorded about Chalah. Should have chapped the line on it. All right, maybe next sesh. Take a look at it. Here, what are the topics over here? We have to discuss the name of Chalah. What's the explanation behind the name of Chalah? Why is the mitzvah of Chalah given to women? We discussed that a little bit. How many mitzvahs are involved with the mitzvah of Chalah? According to the Rambam, it seems like it's just one mitzvah. Seems like others are going to say otherwise. According to the Ramban, it seems like it's 2 mitzvahs or something like that. Wow, I totally don't remember what I said. But I remember I said it in the call. There were like 20 people there. I said this. This was when we were learning Chalah.
Wow.
And then I typed all this up. It takes time to type up, let me tell you.
For sure.
Yeah, this is real Hebrew here. Anyways, okay, so that is the idea about challah, and yeah, that's what I got over there. All right, so Amir Hashem, tomorrow we will continue. Everyone should have a wonderful day.
Amen.
Wait, wait, so how does?
What happened? Why were you? What did you say?
What?